My F24 partner, M24, chooses his stalker friend over me, but then wants to reconcile when cut out by his circle for being friends with her. Original post: My BF is a dancer. Because of this, he has a lot of female friends, which is fine because I have plenty of male friends too, so there was never any jealousy on either side through the course of our 2-year-long relationship. He has this really close circle of female friends. Some of them are friends, some of them not, and just know of each other's existence. I've met all of them. They are wonderful and passionate women, and I get along with almost all of them. One of his friends never took a liking to me, but to be honest, I think she never really tried to get along with me. I was fine with this. Not everyone has to like me. The thing is, I am dating her friend, whatever she likes it or not. She might not like me, it's fine, but trying to insert herself into our relationship is a no-no. What I want to say is that on top of openly voicing out her dislike for me, she's also quite stalker-ish. She's blowing up my boyfriend's phone at weird hours, and if he doesn't pick up, she's throwing a fit on how I'm changing him and occupying all his free time. Last week, we've had our anniversary dinner, and guess who showed up? Yup, this friend of his. He told her we're planning to have a romantic date at this one restaurant, and she decided that she missed her friend, so she's just going to join us and pay for herself so we don't have to mind her. For some reason, my boyfriend isn't correcting her behavior. I know that he thinks she's acting out of line because we've had this conversation plenty of times, but for some reason, he just can't set and maintain good boundaries with her. After that dinner last week, I was so mad at my boyfriend for not doing anything and just allowing her to ruin our anniversary date that I told him to not contact me for a while so I can cool off. As I said before, I get along with the rest of his circle, but I've gotten especially close to one of his female friends over shared interests. Obviously, she has learned about our fight and messaged me to learn what has happened, so I explained everything that took place, not only during our anniversary dinner, but through the course of our relationship. That's when I've learned that this friend of his was a problem even before I came into the picture. She would accuse the rest of the girls from my BF circle of trying to monopolize his attention. She would be possessive over him to the point she would crash any meeting he had with any of his other friends, stalk him throughout Snapchat. She explained that they never really interfered because it was not their place to do so, and they thought that maybe there was something going on between my BF and his friend. But now that I'm here, this friendship of his is just inappropriate, and she can't accept that. Apparently, she told the other girls, and they've decided that my boyfriend needs some tough love because he messaged me yesterday, accusing me of trying to mess up his friend's circle, berated me for being jealous of his friend, and even went as far as to told me there is a reason he's choosing her over me. I told him if that's how it is, then we are over. That was yesterday. Today, he had a change of heart, and suddenly he wants to repair our relationship. I asked him if his stalker friend is in the picture, and he said yes, that she is, but I have to understand that she's going through a lot. Then he asked me if I could talk to his other female friends again, because they kicked out this stalker from their group chat, and she's crying to him that now she has no other girl to talk to. I don't know what to do. That's 2 years together, and I love this man, but this is a drama that I'm not sure I should be a part of. I also have this weird feeling that the only reason he wants to reconcile is because this weird friend of his got kicked out of the group chat. My thoughts are all over the place. How should I proceed with this? Now for the updates. I have a really close friend. She was diagnosed with BPD a few years ago. I'm her best and only friend and the favorite person, as she says. I cherish her greatly, but I recently came to the realization that her possessiveness over me is slowly driving everyone away. She's a constant presence in my life, friendships, relationships, family, but because of her illness, she can be quite intense and jealous. I tried to set some boundaries before, but I think I'm probably approaching it the wrong way, since it always ends with her going into a fit of rage, sadness, apathy. As her best friend, I feel responsible for her well-being, but the stress from tiptoeing around her is wearing me down mentally. Can someone here offer any guidance on how to navigate through boundaries and jealousy with someone diagnosed with BPD? I lost my girlfriend and possibly all my friends because of another friend of mine, and I'm lost. I'm in need of an advice. My girl has recently broke up with me. Our relationship was stable, but we had a disagreement, fought, broke up, and after I reached out to her to apologize, she blocked me everywhere. On top of that, my friends took her side, so they refused to talk to me. And it was all over another friend of mine, let's call her May. I even have to post from a throwaway, because knowing May, she's lurking through all my social media profiles, including Reddit. May and I are friends for years. She comes from a rather rough background, suffers from mental illness, and has quite intense personality. I'm her only close friend, her favorite person, so she's also kind of clingy. I have, or rather had, a lot of girlfriends, and May is jealous of all of them. Me and May never ever tried anything more than friendship. She's not what I look for in a partner, so I guess her possessiveness comes from her mental illness and the fact that I'm her best friend. My female friends has expressed their dislike towards May, but got accustomed to her constant presence over time. The problem started after I met my GF, or rather ex-GF, that I will call Laura. Laura is a social butterfly, so she got along with my girlfriends, and I feel like they actually started to like her more than they like me. The only one who didn't like Laura was May. May got even more jealous. Through the course of my 2-year-long relationship with Laura, May has tried to break us up multiple times. I know that what she was doing was just wrong, but every time I tried to talk to her, she would bring up her illness. The fact that I'm her only true friend. She would cry, tell me that Laura is taking me from her, threaten to hurt herself, etc. After May crashed mine and Laura's anniversary dinner, Laura got fed up, told me to finally set some boundaries, and we went co-contact for almost 2 weeks. I haven't contacted Laura in this time because I couldn't bring myself to talk to May about her behavior. After 2 weeks, one of my girlfriends called to chastise me about not treating Laura with respect and letting May ruin not only my friendships, but also the only healthy relationship I've ever had. I learned that my girlfriends decided that me and May are not worthy of being their friends until we start to act like adults that we are, and removed us both from every shared group and group chat. I got mad at Laura for bringing my girlfriends into our relationship problems, so I called her. I must admit that I got emotional and was an asshole during our call and said some very rude and untrue things, which I regretted the next day, but she broke up with me anyway. I asked her if she could at least talk to my girlfriends, because making them turn against me was just unnecessary, but she wrote to me that my girlfriends have a mind of their own and blocked me. I tried to contact my friends, but I just heard that they had enough of me and May for months, and May was a nuisance to them even before Laura came into the picture. Now I'm torn. I know I can't eat the cake and have the cake, so I need to either choose May or my friends, and maybe then Laura, but it's really hard to give up on May, even when she's toxic, because I know she has problems and I'm the only thing she has. What should I do? We broke up for good. I asked him one last time if he really wants to keep Stalker in his life. Got a response that he feels responsible, so I wished him well and blocked him. I thought that I would grieve over the end of this relationship. Turns out I didn't even know how stressed out I was by this mess. Blocking my ex felt liberating. Once we broke up, I stopped getting Facebook friends requests, Instagram requests from weird, obviously fake accounts. I can post a story without worrying about Stalker suddenly appearing where I am, out of nowhere, in hopes of meeting with my ex. They can have each other. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. I've got myself a really good friends, though. After breaking up with my ex, I wrote to his friend that reached out to me. I felt like I owed her an explanation, since I thought breaking up with my ex would mean the end of our friendship. She called me crazy for thinking she would ever leave me alone, now that she knows how cool I am. I just came back from grabbing a beer with my ex's ex-circle of female friends. I was invited by the friend that reached out to me. The girls are great. I was told that I shouldn't blame myself for the fact that they decided to cut my ex and Stalker out of their lives because they were thinking about it long before I even came into the picture. She was causing huge problems, and none of them wanted to deal with it anymore. And the stories I've heard, crazy. Stalker is so possessive over my ex that she was even jealous of his own mother. After his mom split with her husband, my ex spent more time with her to make her feel better. Stalker then tried to convince him that his mother is in love with him, lol. My ex complained to one of the girls that Stalker was regularly sending him articles about emotional incest until his mom got herself a new boyfriend. I'm glad I removed myself from this mess before it was too late. I want to thank everyone for their advice and tough love. I needed it to see that I'm putting myself in a very dangerous position. Story 2. My 27 girlfriend, 27F, keeps pushing me to try non-monogamy and asks why I won't compromise when I push back. Original, we're both 27 and have been dating for 10 months. My girlfriend Lucy is bisexual and has always been open with me about her kinks and fantasies, and bringing in other people, MMF, MFF, MMFF, and so on, features high on her list. I'm pretty vanilla by comparison. I never guilt-tripped her or shamed her when she opened up to me about these, but I always made it clear to Lucy that they were a bit above what I could provide, and that, in particular, I would never be comfortable bringing another man into the equation. About 6 months into the relationship, Lucy suggested that we have an MFF threesome with another woman and that she would be happy to arrange it. I was a little apprehensive about this initially, as I didn't want it to be used against me as a bargaining chip further down the line, and so constantly checked in with Lucy, asking if she was sure it was something she wanted and that we would be doing together. Not longer after the threesome took place, Lucy suggested that we visit a garden party together, which we did, and at which we only played with each other. She also suggested reaching out and meeting other couples involved in the scene. My understanding was that we would be befriending couples who were also dipping their toes in the water with garden parties and such, and have people who could accompany us to these kinds of events as friends. We matched with another couple on an app and met up with them a few times for drinks. Earlier tonight, Lucy called me and hit with me with a curveball. She said that the past few months she had been feeling unsatisfied and unenthused by our sex life. This really caught me off guard. I knew that Lucy was more adventurous, and I thought I had been doing a decent job of accommodating this, the MFF threesome, the sex party, and talking to another couple. I was hurt by this revelation, but I did my best to find out from Lucy what it was she felt was lacking and what we could do to fix things. After a bit of probing, it became apparent that she wanted us to experiment with MMFF non-monogamy, flirting with another couple, playing truth or dare type games with them, ideally some form of swapping, etc. All things that would make me uncomfortable and which I just can't ever see myself doing, and yet which are extremely important to Lucy. I asked Lucy if there was anything else at all we could try in order to meet in the middle. The subject of toys came up, but it was pretty apparent this was a mere sideshow. Lucy got a bit shitty with me at one point, insinuating I wasn't being open-minded enough, asking how I knew that I wouldn't be into what she was asking, that the situation is unfair, and that I'm not willing to compromise, even though she is the one instigating all of this, whilst being fully aware what my boundaries are. After a bit of back and forth, it eventually dawned on us both that we were staring at the end of the relationship. I told Lucy I was hurt by the revelation, but that I was still thankful that she spoke up, that she needs to do right by herself and not compromise on something if it's important to her. At this point, Lucy became tearful, asking if this was the end, that this wasn't how she expected the conversation to go, and so on. We ended up saying goodnight after promising we'd have another chat about it later. I'm writing this now, having just gotten off the phone off her. I'm pretty gutted, being told out of the blue that your partner has been unsatisfied and unexcited isn't a particularly great thing to hear. I think this is probably the end of Lucy and I, as I don't see myself ever entertaining the scenarios she wants us to partake in, and even if she agreed to bury it, there would be the risk of this coming up again at a later date. Since I started writing this, Lucy has been texting me, pleading with me to compromise. I'm trying my best to explain to her that the boundaries she is asking me to compromise on are hard ones, and which would very likely lead to me getting hurt. But the topic of compromise keeps coming up. Not sure what to do. I would appreciate any advice on how to navigate this and if things might possibly be salvaged without major boundaries being crossed. Thanks. Now on to the updates. A few weeks ago, I posted in another sub about a situation with my GF, Lucy, nudging me to try forms of non-monogamy that I wasn't comfortable with and claiming I needed to compromise when I pushed back. The consensus from comments on my post was that the relationship needed to end as her and I were clearly sexually incompatible, but deep down, I was adamant that things could be salvaged somehow. Not long after our initial conversation, I explained to Lucy why her actions were wrong, pushing against my boundaries despite my repeated saying no, and she apologized to me. She suggested that we go away and write lists of activities that we would or wouldn't be comfortable engaging in, and seeing where we could find common ground or meet each other in the middle. It seemed reasonable. The other day, we sent each other our lists. Lucy was clearly disappointed with mine, as I more or less ruled out partaking in all of the ethical non-monogamy (ENM) activities that she suggested. I made it clear that I was willing to partake in monogamous activities from her list that she enjoyed, e.g. toys, but that didn't seem to really cut it for her. "It is what it is," she said on the phone, with a sigh, her tone of voice one of clear disappointment. "I'm the one who's losing out here. You get to keep everything you want to do, but I don't really get anything. It's fine, though. It is what it is. I can just suppress my desires and keep them in my head." I really disliked her insinuation that I was being obtuse or selfish for not willing to compromise on my boundaries, and I asked why me being willing to try the monogamous activities she outlined didn't seem to count as meeting her in the middle. It's got to be spontaneous, and I want my partner to enjoy it too, which struck me as odd. I can't snap my fingers and suddenly change my enjoyment of or attitude towards a particular sexual activity. I explained to Lucy that she was the one who told me a few weeks ago, with pretty stinging words, that our sex life was unexciting and unsatisfying for her, and that even after our list comparison exercise, the options for fixing this were clearly pretty limited, despite me being willing to give certain monogamous things a try. I told her that I now have all these ominous thoughts, such as, is my partner ever going to be sexually satisfied by me? Is she going to end up resenting or cheating on me? Swirling in my mind, and that some kind of reassurance that these fears were misplaced or that we could work through this would really help me. She immediately clapped back with, "Well, what about me? What about all the things I'm having to give up?" That really got to me, and it reminded me of our previous conversation where she had basically showed no regard for my feelings with her constant nudging up against my boundaries. I felt myself getting angry and knew a shouting match would just make things worse, so I abruptly said goodnight and hung up on her. Before I went to bed, she sent a barrage of texts explaining that she was upset by the situation, that she wanted me to feel more remorseful because of all the things she now has to suppress and keep in her imagination. She also expressed that she felt unappreciated for having to bury her sexual desires for the sake of the relationship. This sat really uncomfortably with me. Why on earth would someone need to feel remorseful for not wanting to risk their own mental well-being just so their partner can feel sexually satisfied? That I need to appreciate her for this horrible anxiety about the relationship I now feel. If Lucy and I were in a dead bedroom or I was completely closed off to trying new things, I would understand, but not wanting to take part in ENM. I had said to her before that I was sorry that she felt like she was losing out, but insinuating that upholding sexual boundaries is something I need to show remorse for is honestly pretty horrible. My head is all over the place. I perhaps naively hoped that things between her and I could be salvaged by comparing our respective lists and working with the overlap between the two. But if anything, it's just made it even more apparent that her and I are sexually incompatible, and frankly, her way of handling the whole situation has really upset me. I feel like, as in my last post, she has no real regard for my feelings and is just angling for the outcome she wants. this time with lousy attempts at guilt tripping. I don't think I can ignore the writing on the wall this time. I care about Lucy a lot, but I hate how she keeps pushing and breaking me down like this, and her general lack of respect for my feelings and me as a person. Lucy and I have broken up. I broke the news to her yesterday, first via text. I initially told her that we needed to talk on the phone, but she insisted that if it was to break up, that I just tell her over text, and then confirming it on the phone. She was super tearful and keep insisting that this was all a giant misunderstanding, that she was sorry for how she had behaved and that she would never hurt me, that she is happy in our relationship. It was really hard hearing her so upset, but I stood my ground. To be honest, I felt like she was backpedaling on things she had said earlier and downplaying how important the E&M activities she wanted to try are. They are things that she had expressed interest in repeatedly very early on, and so can't be dismissed as passing fancies. I told her I appreciated her apologizing, but the damage was done. I can't be in a relationship with someone I'm clearly sexually incompatible with no real chance of fixing it. This was absolutely for the best, but it still hurts. Lucy and I are giving each other some space. We had an upcoming trip together, and I have a few of her things at mine, so we will have to meet up eventually to sort a few things out and maybe clear the air. And so I'll need to be strong and make sure I don't cave in. Thank you off my chest for hearing me out and advising me. It means a lot.